What's going on, guys? If you are watching this, I want to give you my sincere thanks. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I appreciate that. This is the Nerdy Jock, and we're going to be talking about um, first the draft and going to the show, the new episodes to some of the nerdy shows released this week. So we got a lot to talk about. So we're going to kind of just jump right into it and not waste any time with the pleasantries. NFL draft. Um, my stance on NFL draft for the longest time has been this. One, I think it's asinine to get grades. Um, you really don't know how a draft will pan out truly for at least 3 years. And I know that's not the sexy thing to do. That's not the popular thing to do. Everyone wants to go the Mel Kiper approach and draft a grade immediately as if they have any idea. And look, Mel Kiper is an entertainer first, but some of his takes have just been. I remember this is 2000, between 2008 2011, somewhere in that time frame, and it wasn't a particularly that draft in particular wasn't a particularly great draft. And there was this linebacker. God, I think he was from Vanderbilt. No, was it Vanderbilt? Anyway, was a linebacker, Aaron Curry, who Mel Kiper said was the safest pick in the draft. He was the best player in the draft. And he wound up going number 4 overall to the Seahawks. And he was supposed to be the next big time league linebacker. No, most people probably be thinking, I never heard of this guy. Because he was a bust. The safest pick in the draft was a bust. And then we've seen it time and time again. Guys get picked first round, second round. They're out the league in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Guys get picked sixth, maybe the fifth, seventh round, turn into just not only starters but high end players, Pro Bowlers, all pro players. So the draft is never really. I hate to say, oh, this was a good draft, this is a bad draft. You gotta wait 3 years. And again, that's not the sexy thing to do. Right? Nobody likes to wait. Nobody likes to wait in traffic. Nobody likes to wait in line to get the order at the deli. No one likes to, you know, ask somebody out or ask their partner to marry them and be told I have to think about it. We hate to wait. But with the draft you kinda have to. And here's another thing. Like I've been hearing, I'm listening to other shows, and I hear like, oh, the 49ers had a bad draft. And some people have said the Jets have had a good draft. Okay. The 49ers are a team in the past 5, 6 years roughly, been a perennial playoff team. They've been in the Super Bowl twice. Um, if I remember correctly, last year, Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh did something I think had been one of the most incredible coaching feats I've ever seen. They took a team completely depleted and not only took it in the playoffs, but won a playoff game. But they had no business even being there, let alone winning, due to the sheer amount of injuries that they sustained. There are teams that are just well ran, and they're going to win and they're going to do well. And there are teams like the Jets that you can give them 14 picks in the draft, 2 picks each round, and give them 14 new players. And guess what? They don't know what the hell to do with them, and they're going to waste their talent and waste their potential. You know, this notion that this team won the draft, this team lost the draft, at the end of the day is not even an argument or not even worth caring about when the playoffs come around. And are they in the playoffs? Okay, it's great to be a team that had a great draft, but if you're 6-12, I guess it'd be 6-11. Yeah, if you're 6-11. Okay, you're a losing team with a great draft. Congratulations. Or if you miss the playoffs, or if you fumble, your games, and you have a losing season, and your head coach gets fired. Great, you're now a ex head coach that had a great draft. Congratulations. And conversely, you can say, well, this team had a horrible draft. The draft was terrible. But if you make the playoffs, or if you go deep in the playoffs and have a playoff run, okay, you had a terrible draft, but you're in the division or championship round of the playoffs, maybe even Super Bowl. Who gives a shit? I'll take my bad draft and a playoff spot over someone who had a great draft and can't even sniff the playoffs. So that's just my take, and I go based off what position you pick at what round and what was the team's needs. Like if your team, I'll take. Let's take the Bills. The Bills really needed more than anything defense. Offensively, they're pretty good spot. The O line's pretty decent. Obviously, they have a potential Hall of Fame level quarterback. They just traded for what's his name from Chicago. They're doing well as a team, offensively speaking. And their draft was particularly focused on defense, which is what they needed. Their defense has just let the team down for several years. There's a big reason why what's his name got fired, because he was a DC. How are you defensive coordinator? You become a head coach and your defense is the weakest part of. How does that even make sense? So the defense is what they needed. Defense is what they primarily focus on. To me, that is a draft that no matter what, I can look at and say, you went after positions of need. You went after positions that your team ultimately was starving for. If it works out, amazing. If it doesn't, at least I can say, may not worked out, but they took a pick. They took some money that they needed. And the draft is such a inexact science. Conversely, if someone can pick really good players, but pick luxury picks. Wide receiver, safety, um, running back, and it's like unless you're the defending Super Bowl champions, I don't really understand how you can take a running back. Let's like I said about the Cardinals. How can the Cardinals take a running back in the first round? Who the hell is your quarterback? Name me one player on the defense. Like, is Love going to be a great running back? I'm sure he is. He's extremely talented. But like the analogy I made when I first reacted to it, it's great to own a Jaguar or a Mercedes. But if you live in a shitty, rundown shack and your bills are all overdue and you have no food in the fridge, congratulations, you have a nice, beautiful car, but everything else around you is falling apart. It's shit. When I see picks like that, like Love going to the Cardinals, I'm like, okay, congratulations. You have a beautiful, shiny, amazing car, but your house looks like something in a post-apocalyptic wasteland that you would see in that type of movie. Your bills are overdue. Your fridge has a bottle of ketchup, and but looks like it may have been some type of fruit 6 months ago, and you have your bills calling you saying, "Hey, if you don't pay this by next week, we're gonna cut everything." But you got that Jaguar though. You got that Mercedes. I just and then, like I said, there are reasons some teams are perennial playoff teams and they do make the Super Bowl and they do consistently win. And there are some teams that, aside from a um, I would say aside from a kind of outlier year, are always losing, are always losers, and never make the playoffs. It's just, why would you pick a running back? Particularly when look at the teams in just in that division alone. The Seahawks, the Rams, the 49ers. What do they all have? Very good quarterback play. At the very least, very smart quarterback play. Sam Darnold has one of the reasons he won a Super Bowl was he was very smart with his throws. He never made a throw or did anything that would have jeopardized his team's chance at winning that game. Brock Purdy, same thing, takes care of the ball pretty well. Matthew Stafford, future Hall of Famer. But no, let's just take a running back. Same thing with the Jets. People say, oh, the Jets had an amazing draft. Okay. What does that mean? That there be that next year the Jets will be the worst team in the league, but they would have had a great draft. Like, what I look at is this: does this has this team shown to any capacity they know what they're doing? That they can take players and get the most out of them and win. So like I said about like Ty Simpson going to LA. A lot of people criticize that pick, and I understand it. But if anyone can take this kid and help him be successful, Sean McVay is the guy to do it. Um, and other than Kyle Shanahan, maybe one or two other guys, Ben Johnson over in Chicago, aren't too many guys I would have that type of confidence and faith in. But Sean McVay, I do, because I know he's a great head coach, and when it comes to offense, comes to quarterbacks, he knows what he's doing. But um, we'll see with these picks. I'm sure some of them will pop next year and in a couple of years. Let's see if any of these guys are even still on the team, or if any of these guys have made any type of really um, any impact whatsoever. Because that's going to be the the way we know if this draft was successful or not for any of these teams. All right, moving forward. What a great week! I have serious invincible what's the word, withdrawal. I missed that show. Particularly, it was a show that me and my sons watched together. They're not. My kids definitely don't really like Star Wars, which is heartbreaking for me. But that's just not something that they're in. And Marvel's a hit or miss. And obviously, the boys are too young for that. So, but I definitely have invincible withdrawal syndrome. I miss that show. So hopefully we don't have to wait a inordinate amount of time to see the next season. And I'm very excited. Reports were from Robert Kirkman um, that they're planning on doing between 7 and 9 seasons. So, if that's true, hey, I'm do 20 seasons. I love the show. The show's only gotten better every single season. So I'm here for it. Give me all the invincible you can. And the two shows we did, and two of the shows this week, we have some major character deaths that we're going to talk about. So huge spoilers. Huge spoilers. First, I want to talk about Darth Maul. That show continues to be great. The fight sequences, the fight choreography between Maul and the Inquisitors is outstanding. It really is. And we get a little look behind the curtain with Maul and what it was like having Palpatine take him as a young boy, train him. We see that he trained him with cruelty. Like if he was to mess up during a sparring match, he would hit him with electricity and punish him that way for making a mistake. We saw he was very close with his brother Savage, and leaving him was very difficult for both of them. So we got to see some glimpses into his upbringing and kind of his obsession with killing, Darth Sidious, where that really festered, and how that festered into the absolute obsession we saw in Rebels. So I think that was amazing. Um, Episode 8, we saw Two Boots kind of realize he fucked up. We saw his protocol kind of go out the window because they snatched, what's his name, Riley, Captain Lawson's son, and Two Boot goes against protocol, rescues him, and they all kind of get this huge shootout and run off. Um, but this show continues to be amazing. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Just to look at it is a gorgeous show. So, Darth Maul continues to be high, just must watch Star Wars. Um, I can't praise it enough. I love it. So, Daredevil. Um, we saw the repercussions of Karen Page being arrested. We see Kingpin come and talk to her and threaten her, even chokes her through the bars. And then we see Matt make the decision to essentially come to the trial, which is a very public trial, and be part of her defense. Of course, everyone is like, oh, it's Matt Murdock, the missing lawyer who saved Kingpin, or the mayor, I should say. To them, the mayor. Um, and he really, obviously, great defense attorney. He really goes in hard, and you see how he and the other lawyer, I forget her name, do a great job at asking the right questions and exposing them, meaning the task force. And it was great to watch. I wish we had a little bit more. It went by pretty fast. I wish we had a little bit more time in a courtroom. That's one thing I've been missing with Matt is his courtroom presence. But it was nice to see for however, short of a time as it was. Then they get attacked in the parking garage where Matt gets shot, and Cherry's there, and he has to take the other lawyer, and they have to get the hell out of there. Now before his that's a quick. You see Brett. You see Brett go to Karen, and he's like, listen, I can get you to see Matt because Matt's talking to Jessica. Cherry comes while they're on the rooftop talking, and Cherry tells Matt where Karen is, and Matt's like, okay, I'm gonna go get her. And Cherry's like, listen, you can't do that. If you break out of jail, you're the criminal Kingpin's been telling everyone that you are. You have to trust the process and let it play out. And he realizes he's right. Says, okay, fine. But we see Brett kind of take Karen out back to see Matt, and he's like, listen, yeah, I can give y'all like a couple minutes. And they have a nice little moment together. But seeing Brett was cool. He's one of my favorite side characters from the show. I really enjoyed his character. Foggy always giving his mom her cigars. Um, that was fun. And then, of course, before they go to trial, Matt tells her, he's like, "Hey, we have to break the rules, but not in a way that you think. We're not gonna kill. We're gonna defeat him by breaking the rules in other ways." And that's when we see him go, um, be part of her defense. Kind of a lot happened in this episode, so I'm trying to remember. The psychologist sees Karen Page, and she goes through that same kind of like questionnaire she did with the swordsman. She said, "Hey, I'm asking these questions, true or false." And Karen Page said, "I'm not gonna do that." And Karen Page starts to say, "Hey, let me ask you some questions as a psychologist." And she's going to Matt, not by name, but I have this guy I sleep next to, and he just is frustrating, and sometimes I don't even know who he is. I can't quite pinpoint him, but I love being next to him. I love him. And you can tell they both know who she's talking about. And she tells her, "Hey, I'm so sorry for you. I'm sorry." And she grabs Karen by the throat, like, "Don't fucking pity me." And she's like, "It's too late." And she just starts smacking Karen. And as she's going on this rampage, there's like this window above them. And in that window, you see Muse. And you see that it's obvious now that they're gonna make her the new Muse, because she's slipping deeper and deeper into this being this hard, moralist person. And yeah, I'm really enjoying what they're doing with her. um we see Soprano's kid tell BB, "Listen, we have to go somewhere and hide, or Buck's gonna kill you." And we see really he's telling Buck, "Hey, it is BB. She's the one that's been leaking this stuff." And Buck said, "Cool, bring her to this address. I'm gonna kill her." So he does, and she figures it out. She's a smart girl. BB's like, "This is not a safe house, is it? You brought me here to kill me." And she starts crying and like pleading with him, "Please don't do this." And she's like, "Is this who you want to be?" And so he thinks about it, and obviously he cares for her very deeply. He tells her to get the hell out of there, and so she leaves, and he's like, "Don't tell me where you're going. I don't want to know. Just go somewhere and don't make it obvious." So he goes to Buck, and Buck's like, "Where is she?" And he's like, "She's not coming." And you see Buck look disappointed. Buck's like, "Tell me where she's at." And he goes, "Fuck you, Buck." And Buck beats the living shit out of him. And he beats him to a pulp. And he's laying there on the floor, and Buck shoots him in the head. But before he does, he hesitates. He sits there for a good couple minutes before he finally pulls that trigger. Because he does. You can tell he likes Daniel. But he's a man of duty. And whatever that duty may be or may constitute, that's what he's going to perform. And so he kills him, shoots him in the head. It's kind of shocking because, I mean, I knew something was going to come to a head with him and BB. Obviously, his feelings for her being this, you know, opposing figure to Fisk, which now more than ever he's going to not tolerate. But it was a great, um, it was really a great moment showing that he stood up and saved BB's life, even though it cost him his own. Jessica Jones, one major thing is, so she goes to Matthew Lillard's character. When he wakes up and she's sitting next to him, he's like, "Hey, please don't hurt me." And she's like, "It fucking depends on what, like, why the hell you sent my guys over there?" And he's like, "Hey, they're only supposed to talk to you. I don't know why they went full force." And she goes, "You ever come near me and my daughter again, I'll kill you." And then she asks him, "Where's Luke?" And he kind of alludes to the fact that Luke is out on a job or an assignment, which I don't know, that's setting up heroes for hire, which would be really cool. And maybe Luke and um, Iron Fist are already established as heroes for hire, that they go out on missions. Um, Now, that wasn't, I'm speculating, that wasn't said in the film, but just the way he worded it, that could be interpreted that way. Is that the case? We'll have to see for probably for next season. But I at least really appreciated that little, nod, little nudge. So, um, that's something I'm looking forward to for next season as well. But overall, this episode was again amazing. One thing I want to say, I listened to another video, and somebody said and made a huge complaint about Daredevil, and the complaint was Daredevil told Fisk this was last episode. Let's just leave New York. You leave, I'll leave. We'll go and we'll just wife. And people said, well, Daredevil would never say that. That's like Batman telling the Joker, let's just both leave Gotham. Like, yeah, you got Joker out. What about Two-Face? Scarecrow? What about Penguin? Well, that's a valid argument. I think you ever get to a point where you're pleading with someone and your pleas become kind of irrational, but you're so desperate. I think that was Matt. 'Cause Matt was like at the end of his ropes with Fisk, and this would try anything to get him to leave the city. Would say anything because Matt will not kill. He won't. So that was something that another thing happens in this episode. Speaking of killing, so Matt goes to Bullseye, and Matt says, "I hate you. But if you want to do one good thing, I have a favor to ask." And Bullseye's like, "I can't make any promises, but ask your favor." So later that episode, um, during the trial, we see the mayor call and say, "Hey, we need not the mayor, the governor, excuse me, the governor call during the trial I was talking about earlier, and call the attorney general and say, hey, we need to start the paperwork. We need to get Fisk out of the office." And we see assassination attempt later in the episode, where someone comes in and tries to kill her. And just as he's like in the process where obviously she's dead or would be dead, Bullseye takes the guy down. We realize that was a favor that Matt asked Bullseye, is make sure the governor is safe. Because one thing that Matthew Little's character told Jessica Jones was, You know, now that Vanessa's dead, the governor feels like Fisk is going to be uncontrollable, and Fisk is not willing to give up his power, alluding or saying without actually saying it, he plans on trying to kill a governor. And we kind of saw that already when Buck was talking to the assistant governor. I don't know if that's a proper term, but the guy right underneath the governor, like, hey, Queens fall. And then the person right behind her becomes the king. Or something like that, something along those lines. We just kind of saw them planting that seed that he could become the next governor. And if he did, it would be because of them and he would support them. They would expect him to support them. So, that's where we're at with Daredevil. Again, great. A lot happening, but a really great episode. Um, this season has been remarkable. The Boys. I said it before. I fell off on The Boys after season 2. I just thought it was, my issue with it was it became too much shock value. I think they were doing things just to make you go, oh God, I can't believe they did that. And that gets old after a while. But I got back on this season just to see how it was. And so far this season, they've delivered. I mean, they delivered in every capacity. And this new episode was no different. And it's a weird episode. We kind of start off in a meeting with Homelander and Firecracker and um, the pastor guy, I forget his name, Sage, Black Noir, The Deep. And we follow each one after that meeting. First one we follow with Firecracker. And we see she has a meeting with her old pastor, who they were obviously very close. And he said he's getting the heat from other suits because he refuses to join the Democratic Church of America, acknowledging Homelander as God. He asked for her help. And then we see her go on, after we see her have sex with Soldier Boy. Afterwards, she tells him she's feeling conflicted about how she should, her faith as a Christian and getting on board with Homelander as God. But then she goes on to her TV show where she has to specifically attack her old church and say these, they're starlighters and they're child groomers, and basically attack her old pastor. And you see it's difficult for her. You see her finally start to really kind of break down. And even after she gives like the monologue on the church, you see her, start to cry. Because you can tell she loves this pastor. He's like a father figure to her. And to do that was heartbreaking for her. And we follow Black Noir, and Black Noir is like trying to get on this, there's a stage play. And that one, that whole narrative I didn't care for. But it basically ends, if you remember, Gen V, the director, he's there, and he's telling Black Noir that He wants him for his play. They're both gonna have huge careers, or he gonna revitalize his career. That New Orleans career is gonna be amazing. And then in the deep sees this, and he sends an eel up the toilet, and basically through the asshole of the director kills him in a very The Boys moment. And Black Noir's pissed, and the deep says, "Hey, bro, you if you want to make a big deal about it, we can go to Homelander. We can tell him you're trying to join a stage play. It would be a huge conflict of interest, or you can shut the fuck up about it." Like I said, I didn't care for that one too much. The other one was we followed Terror, Butcher's dog, when he keeps streaming about banging Homelander. I'm sure you've seen like the memes. The Homelander like bent over with his ass sticking out and talk about, hey, who's a good boy? Who wants to fuck me? And Tara just, it's bizarre, but it's the boy, so kind of expect it bizarre. But the one thing we got from that little segment was Butcher agreed that they find a V1. He won't destroy it all. He's going to give some to Annie and Kamiko. Because Huey kind of talks him into it. And Huey even asks Butcher, okay, but what about you? Aren't you going to take something? Butcher kind of doesn't really answer, but yeah, you can tell Butcher wants to die. But he wants to. He won't until after he kills Homelander. After that, he has no reason to live anymore. But so that was the one thing we got from that very weird segment. Next one, another one was Sage, and I'll give this a Cliff Note version. Basically, what Sage's little segment, we find out she's talking to who's the vice president, one with the face in the back of her head. Basically, she tells her what her plan is to basically unleash the virus and let all hell break loose. Because she's like, when the virus is released, the soups will attack humans, humans will attack soups, millions and millions of people are going to die, but in the aftermath, all the worst people will be dead, and it'll be a peaceful place, and all she wants to do is sit down and read her books. And she asks the lady, the vice president, to basically help her see how close Homelander and Soldier Boy are getting to V1 and all that. And then we follow Soldier Boy. And Soldier Boy goes down to Edgar, who's being kept in the cell, and says, tell us what the V1 is. He's like, I don't know. He says something like, something Arizona. Edgar's like, what's that supposed to mean something to me? He's like, not to you, but that's where your granddaughter and her dad are staying. And if you don't tell me where to find a V1, I'm going to personally go over there and kill him. So he finally says, listen, I don't know, but here's who does. Or here's who might know, if anyone does. And we get, now I'm not a huge Supernatural fan, but for those of you that are, we get a nice Supernatural reunion between Jason Ackles and I don't know the other guy's name, but the guy who played his brother in Supernatural. And basically, he was A-Train before A-Train. The fastest man alive until he became the second fastest. And then Homelander kicked him out to 7. And he's there with a bunch of actors. Seth Rogen is there. The guy from Harold and Kumar. I forget his name. A bunch of other guys. And they're all like, hey, we need to expose Homelander. We need to do this. And Homelander comes down with Soldier Boy, and they're like, "Hey, Homelander, well, we love you." Blah blah blah. There's another guy who can breathe toxic gas. And he goes to Homelander like, "Remember me?" And Homelander's like, "I don't know who the fuck you are. Get out of my face." And Seth Rogen and other actors are there. They're like, "Hey, you should really you round up starlighters. You should go to Michael Cera and start naming a bunch of actors that they said he should go that are secretly anti Homelander." And so they ask him the brother from Supernatural, "Hey, do you know who has V1?" He's like, "Well, I don't, but the guy they said last episode, Bomb something, I don't know, I forget his name." But he's like, he probably has some. He's like, matter of fact, I know he has some. And so they're waiting there. He's like, "Yo, he's coming." And finally, Homelander's like, "Fuck this, I'm leaving." And the guy who breathes the noxic gas breathes it into Homelander's face and actually knocks him out. And Soldier Boy, what the fuck? They're like, "Hey, let's kill this guy. This guy's insane. This guy is a weirdo. He's a piece of shit. Let's kill him, and you can run to 7." And Soldier Boy like, "Oh, that sounds great." But he's like, "Yeah, nobody fucks my son but me." And he just kills all of them. And there's this gag where the brother from Supernatural, he literally kills all like the actors by having him run into them. So now, mind you, before all this happened, they were doing cocaine. So he's like coked out, and he runs out the Soldier Boy, and then he'll throw like one of the actors in front of him, and just like A-Train in the first episode will just go right through them, and he's just covered in gore and bone and guts. It's awesome, and he does it over and over again. And the last one is Seth Rogen, who he kind of throws at him, and then he like cuts him in half, and Seth Rogen's like, "How bad is it?" And he's like, "Oh man, dude, I'm so sorry." And then um finally he's able to, I think it's like baby oil or something. He pours it on the floor, and he's standing there, and he comes after him, and he slips and falls, and he like breaks his legs. And and Soldier Boy tells him, "What the fuck is it? Bomb site? Whatever. That the guy looking for it. Where the fuck is he? Does he really have V1?" He's like, "Yeah, that part wasn't a lie. He really has V1, but I don't know where he's at. I haven't talked to him in like 5 years." And as he's laying there, Homelander just steps on his face and crushes his skull. And Homelander's like, "Why'd you save me? You could have killed me." And Soldier Boy said, "You could have killed me after I locked you in a radiation cell, but you didn't." And he's like, "I'm going to help you get the V1." So we see last episode, after Soldier Boy kills his brother, and that, you know, those hate spores, basically stop. We see him in a moment of a very rare moment of being vulnerable. And when Homelander sees him like this, has a chance to maybe kill him or seriously hurt him, but doesn't. And Soldier Boy doesn't forget that. And we see he kind of come around and kind of willing to help Homelander now. It doesn't bode well, because the Soldier Boy and Homelander are working together, and they're a team now. That's gonna make it extra hard for the boys and for everyone else trying to stop Homelander. And then we see him at the end of the episode go to Firecracker, basically tell her, "So, yeah, you've been fucking my dad, and not only that, you've been telling him you have issues with or doubts about me, and you see Jesus as the only God, and she's like, no, 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 I swear I love you. I swear I believe in you. You're a God to me. Please don't fire me. Let me stay here. And Homelander, caresses her face, and he takes her and shoves her head into like a statue, killing her. And so Firecracker's now dead. And that's the end of the episode. And while at time bizarre, I really liked this episode. The Black Noir segment was probably my least favorite. Um, but overall, I like what they did. I like what they're doing this season, and um, I can't speak highly enough about the boys. I feel like this season's been amazing, and I can't wait to see where it goes next. But that's about it. A couple other things before I get out of here. I saw the new trailer and some the images from Spider Noir. They look amazing. Um, so I can't wait because that show comes on the end of at the end of next month on Amazon. So I'm very excited about that. I can't wait for Spider Noir. That's another show I'm very excited to see, and I will watch and be talking about. I want to end on something a little personal, outside of sports or necessarily, nerdum. Um, I saw Michael, obviously the biopic about Michael Jackson. And as an accurate biographical film that depicts the major points of his personal life, it's not necessarily it doesn't necessarily do that. But what it does do, and why I find so why I love the film, was it was a celebratory film that looked at his career as a musician, a songwriter, a dancer, and in my personal opinion, the tabloids, the gossip magazines, TMZ, we got enough of the controversies and the negatives of Michael's life through them. Even if you don't follow, like me, I don't really follow celebrity news, but certain public figures are so big, it's unavoidable. And with Michael, he was one of those figures. Whether it was on regular news, people talking about it at work, it was inescapable, even if you didn't particularly follow it. But I was happy to see them celebrate Michael's life, celebrate his work, celebrate his music, and not focus on the only the negatives. Furthermore, Michael Jackson, to me, I'm sure like so many other people, was so pivotal growing up. He meant the world to me. His music was very important to me. And while I have my own beliefs on the allegations against him and the validity of those allegations, and I won't get into it, but I truly believe we didn't need to get into that. We didn't need to get into all the darker, bad parts of his life. We needed a film that celebrated him as an artist, his music, and that's what we got. And you know what? I'm glad we did. I'm glad we got that, and I'm glad we got a chance to celebrate one of the greatest musicians, one of the greatest artists that we've ever seen and ever will see. Because at the risk of sounding like the get off my lawn guy, these new artists, they're great performers. They put on an amazing, energetic show, but they're not really great artists. Michael Jackson was an amazing artist. He not only did he put on a great show, his art was profound and meaningful. And watching him make watching him and how he made the Beat It video, the Thriller video, how he came up with the concept for the songs, all that it meant a lot to me. I remember being a little kid, sitting in front of my TV on MTV, back when MTV was truly music television, and watching the Thriller, and watching Billie Jean, and watching Beat It, and being glued to the TV. I had a Michael Jackson jacket. I had the glove. I had the hat. I loved Michael. One of, again, with celebrities, I don't get in celebrity news or gossip. It doesn't interest me. And typically when a celebrity dies, oh, that's a shame. It doesn't really affect my life. Michael Jackson, one of the few celebrities who, when they pass, I shed a tear. So, and look, fuck the critics. For real. Fuck you. Because you will sit there and support a film nobody else liked. A shitty film that is just posed as being high art, and just to make yourself feel better than everyone else, you'll say it's a great film, a artistic expression, and give it the best reviews. Particularly in the last 10 to 15 years, the disconnect between critics and the audience have been so grand, have been so massive. The movie like Michael, where it's just a celebration of this man's life and work and art, you shit on it, but you love the documentary full of half truths and lies and misconceptions about him allegedly being a child abuser. Go fuck yourself. I hate every fucking single one of you. I think you're disgusting. I think that when people talk about Hollywood being full of pedophiles, you're in that group. Every single one of you big time critics. Because you will demonize Michael. But right now, Kevin Spacey, who did rape young men, put out a movie, you would blow it and say it's the best thing ever. If Charlie Sheen was making a movie right now, or a show, you would blow it, even though he raped young men. And the list goes on and on. Roman Panowski, who had a warrant, still to this day has a warrant out for his arrest for having inappropriate relations with an underage girl who her parents dropped off to him because he said he wanted to have a meeting with her to cast an upcoming film and took advantage of her and can't step foot on American soil to this very day because he'll be arrested the minute he gets off the plane and you'll blow any film he makes. But a film about Michael, celebrating him as an artist, and you want to criticize it, I'm sure a lot of you critics probably sat first class next to Trump on your way to Epstein Island. So all of you can go to hell. You don't represent us. You represent all the pedos and weirdos in Hollywood. You don't represent the people, everyday people. You don't. And we didn't take you serious before. We didn't take your opinion or any type of real type, any type of validity previous to this. We never gave you any type of power. We never took you serious. But this only cemented the fact that what you see as a good film and what you see as something being a well-made piece of art and what we consider it as a general population, there couldn't be a bigger, wider gap. Um, so, I don't care what the critics say. I don't take the opinions of pedophiles very highly, personally. Michael was an amazing film. And it was great to see a celebration of his life, his work, of him as an artist, and seeing him recreate moments that was so pivotal to my childhood, even now today, was amazing. So if you're a fan of Michael, go see the film. And if you're a uh, critic who thinks you're better than everyone else and likes to touch little kids, and you fancy yourself in that same type of social circles, you may not like the film. But I probably won't like you either. So, that's fine. But Michael was amazing, and I don't care what the critics say. It's well worth a watch. It's so worth it to see to celebrate the greatest artist of my generation and celebrate his work. So, Michael worth seeing. Fuck the critics. And other than that, I'm out of here. Till next week. I'm excited to see where the boys go. I think next week, is it next week or the week after that Daredevil's over? We're getting close to the end, so that'll be another show. Unfortunately, that will end, and we won't see any more till next year probably. But we got Spider Noir, X-Men '97, and your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. What a mouthful to say in the show. But we have those coming up. Vision Quest. So we got plenty to substitute for the shows that are ending. But anyway, thanks guys for listening. Have a good day. We'll see you next time.